was second guessing doing a video about my progress here, what I've been working on, just because time. I'm on a time crunch as usual. Our first race is actually Thursday night. First race of the year that I wanted to get to is next week Saturday, and I've still been playing dick around trying to find a cylinder head situation for that, and just dealing with people. I don't know how else to describe it. Dealing with people. I decided to go ahead and finish. If you look here, I've had that sub panel in the garage for a year now, and well, actually a little over a year. That's my 220 service, so I could actually run that welder right there on 220 and have full, amperage capabilities to weld. What I've been trying to do is I run 07, 08 cylinder heads, GS6R1000 cylinder heads, and I have one that was damaged when it was a nitrous spike that I somewhat repaired. I thought pretty good. It just kind of trenched a real shallow little scar between two cylinders. I welded it up, surfaced it out, set it aside for like a spare. Case of emergency, I could use it. Then there's the cylinder head that I've been running on the bike, 07, 08 head. That one is the one that I put new guides in, and it destroyed, it wrecked some of the bucket bores, pretty bad. I doctored all that stuff up, put new guides in, cleaned it all up. That's the head I've been running. And so if you ever hear my bike running and you hear something in the top end a little noisy, that's because the bucket bores they're fucked. But it worked. So anyways, that head was on the bike when I had that kind of major torch job come out the back of the cylinders at the end of last season. And again, it just scored. The majority of the damage went under the head gasket. Excuse me. Majority of the damage went under the head gasket. That's why I'm convinced that there was something wrong with those cylinders. There was a crack in there, something pre-existing. Just happened to find it. But the cylinder head did get a little damage, and it was just a real fine little score where it saw some little trenching going on from the combustion chamber out towards where the coolant passage is. And I have been trying to get a virgin stock untouched cylinder head. It's next to impossible. The ones I've been finding, people want 4 times what I think the heads are worth. I'm not going to pay it. I'm not going to pay $1,500 for a bone stock cylinder head off somebody on eBay because it's not worth it to me. I'll park the bike before I pay $1,500 for a cylinder head. Anyway, that's another gripe for a different day. Just a real angry person tonight. I started to weld up that cylinder head to repair that little score. Problem I was having is with that welder on, it's a dual voltage welder. Welding on 110 volt, it limits my amp capability to 115 amps is my max. So I was preheating the cylinder heads in an oven. I was coming out here and preheating the area with a torch, trying to get everything hot as I could. As soon as I'd start TIG welding, I'd get a little heat built up in the area I was trying to repair. And if you ever weld cast aluminum, you can kind of see the little pockets and porosity kind of come to the surface somewhat. And once the puddle smooths out, I'd add a little filler rod, and I could do a decent repair. Problem is that thing keeps popping the breaker in the house, and every time that happened, I'd have to let the wiring cool down, go flip the breaker. At that point, the cylinder head loses most of its temperature I had built up when I started the weld. Then I'd have to restart the weld and then go through the whole process again. It was just every time I'd start and stop because the breaker would blow, I created a start and stop point on that weld and the head that I don't want. So I couldn't get just a nice clean area at full temperature how I wanted to weld it. I don't know if I'm describing that right, but the bottom line was I needed more heat in the cylinder head to get it to weld properly. That's the short version. So that turned into last weekend. I finally got 220 hooked up. Got the wiring, had that all run. I had the conduit buried already, so had everything run, hooked up, sub panel in the house, got the wiring out here. I have an outlet now for the welder on 50 amp, and I got the air compressor on 30 amp, so no more popping breakers and having the lights go out. Now I can weld full deal, which leads us to where we're at now. It worked so well that I managed to get that cylinder head repaired. That one is the one that had just a little bit of scoring going on here. it didn't go. I'll just have to show you. I'm not describing it right. Think of where the head gasket would come out here, closer to those coolant passages there. I don't run coolant, so it doesn't matter. It didn't score the major part of the, chamber area. It was real fine little area over here. I got that all welded up, and I'm pretty happy with it. So that's the cylinder head I'm going to run with the fucked up bucket bores again. Well, keeping my eye out for another virgin stock head. I also got that one over there that I had previously repaired. I think I'm going to go over that repair and kind of do it nice now that I know I can pound some heat into the cylinder head and kind of weld it good. Yeah, so that's the plan for tonight. I don't work Fridays, so I'm going to try to get this thing slammed together. Got the motor sitting over there waiting for a cylinder head to go on it. I'm going to doctor up something we're going to reuse over here. We're going to reuse head gasket parts because that's how I roll. And frankly, I'm out of time and out of money, and I don't give a shit. We're going to put this thing together, and it's going to work because so far it's worked every time. knock on wood or something for me. So what I'm going to show you is just kind of real quick. I'll get a little closer. I'll show you the repair that I made, why I'm happy with it, how I surfaced this thing out, and then I'll show you how I kind of check for flatness and everything. You know me. This is like down and dirty, rude and crude, home-built garage garbage. I'm tired of relying on other people to do anything. So if there's a hack, garbage-ass way to do it and make it work, I'm going to figure it out. That's just how I roll. I ain't got money to waste on other people, and my time's important to me. So I'll show you what I got going on. So here's the head we're working with. Sorry if my hands are torched. The solvent tank at work and a bunch of sand and parts finishing and stuff. Anywho, I'll point with this. Here's where I had to repair a little area. You can see this coolant passage is a little bit oblonged. I kind of cleaned up some of what was going on there. But if we were to draw, I'll grab a head gasket here. This will work. So you can see where the head gasket would go. So if you can imagine the head gasket comes up, this area was all fine. There was no damage here. The damage happened under where the gasket goes. So it was up in this area. It scored kind of across to this way. And then that's actually where I noticed there was like some soot in the the coolant passages. It's because it actually blew into these passages here and came out up here. But story for a different day. Anyway, this is where the damage was. I welded this up and surfaced it out with that hunk of steel. It's a 3/4 inch piece of steel. I honestly forget. At the time I grabbed this, I remember what it was. It's a pretty hard chunk, but it's been surface ground to like within 3/10 flat. So it's a pretty flat hunk of steel. And then we got some sandpaper that you'd buy at your local Home Depot that's adhesive backed for a floor sander. And I use that like cha, and we just go, a little bit of that action. And I use a Sharpie as like a staining fluid, more like a guide coat. If you're a body guy, it'd be a guide coat. So I just color everything, color it black. I take that and I just surface it out real light until we don't see any more black. I got my machinist straight edge, guaranteed flat within 3/10. And then I have, what did I do with them? Let's go over here and look. Feeler gauges. So this is a 1.5 feeler gauge. Let's see if I can show you that. 1.5. I come over here and I go right down the line. Anywhere it doesn't go under, we're good. Go across at an angle. And notice I'm not putting any downward pressure on that to try to flex it or do anything. I'm just letting it sit. And we're just seeing if the feeler gauge tries to go under anywhere. And if it doesn't, we're flat enough that that'll seal. And I do the same thing over here on the deck surface. So I already checked this thing for 0 deck. I'll try to do this and Well, I'm going to have to figure out a different way to do this to show you. But you get the idea. So anyway, go across here, go this way, and then same thing. Check it everywhere for flatness to see the feeler gauge goes under. So yeah, like I said, just ways to get shit done in your own garage. Now the goal tonight, it's getting late already, so I don't know how far I'll get. The goal is to get this thing in the solvent tank, get it all cleaned up and ready for assembly. I got all the other parts that would go in the thing, all of my valves, buckets, shims, everything's already clean and ready to go. So I just got to get this thing cleaned up. We'll assemble it, and the plan is tomorrow to figure out what I want to use for thickness head gasket and get everything on and start, just degree the cams and check everything over. So for now, let's get this in the solvent tank. Got that all sprayed out, cleaned up, and having the air compressor on its own 30 amp circuit now, not popping breakers. So nice to be able to use that to like get this all cleaned up and then blow it out. Just everything's more efficient when I'm not constantly blowing breakers on that or blowing breakers on a welder. Hopefully we get some more stuff done now. The plan now is to start lapping valves in, clean it again, then we can assemble. So I was brass wheeling some valves, cleaning stuff up. I happened to find an exhaust valve that I'm kind of glad I was like looking them over while I was wire wheeling them, or brass wheeling them. It's a big old nick in there. That would have been right where the valve seat touches. So luckily I keep spares, so we still have a proper quantity. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that aside. And I'm going to get ready. I'm going to start lapping this stuff in. And we'll check the seats as we go. I'm not lapping them in real hard. I just want to make sure each one has its home. Make sure it leaves a nice pattern. And we'll be good from there. So lapping valves in, this is pretty much all I'm looking for. Is a consistent gray line all the way around the valve. So as long as it's contacting the seat all the way around, you'll get a line all the way around. Same on the seat. If a valve is bent and only one part is touching the seat, as you're spinning it, lapping it in, it'll still leave a mark all the way around on the valve seat. However, if the valve itself is bent, it'll only be contacting one area. The rest of the area won't show any pattern. So you kind of got to look at the seat and the valve when you do this, just to make sure everything is kosher. Valve job done. Just kidding. All lapped in. I'm really happy with how that turned out as far as like the quality of how well the lapping job looks. Valve seats, the valves themselves, everything looked really good. I did put two used exhaust valves in. That one had a nick in that I showed you. I found one other one had a real slight little nick in it that I just didn't like. So I had some spares. So we got two used valves in there on the exhaust side. Now I'm going to flip it over and we're going to do springs, keepers, retainers, seals, that whole business. And I'm going to call it a night. That'll be good enough for tomorrow. We'll set the valve lash. And then we can start bolting stuff together and degreeing cams. The head is going back together swimmingly. Got all my new seals in there. I did buy new valve seals. I run all Kibble White stuff. Just really nice stuff. New seals are in, springs are in. I'm going through and doing all the retainers and keepers with my fancy tool here. So we're going to finish getting this assembled, And then I'm calling it a night.